So much wire, so little time. These are the fruits of all the research for my recent series of videos presented in an A to Z format. Trivia, collaborations, side projects. Let's go. Hi, Darren here. Yeah, have we had enough wire yet? Yeah, this is the last one, I promise you. And it's literally just because I wanted to kind of clear the decks of all the bits and pieces I've accumulated over the last few weeks. It's going to be an A to Z. It's going to be kind of a bit haphazard. I'm not really planning too much into this. It's just from all the notes that I've made. Yeah, let's get cracking. If you get bored, just, zip forward to your favorite letter. Everyone's got a favorite letter. So beginning with A, I've got Angela Conway, a very kind of early art college collaborator friend from way back in the kind of the very early days of Wire, the Overload days, 1976, 77. Yeah, Angela crops up very often on some non-Wire kind of solo and collaboration releases. But I think she's best represented by her own kind of project called AC Marias. In fact, there's an album from 1989, One of Our Girls Has Gone Missing, which I think is one of the best of the kind of Wire-associated releases. Heavy involvement from Bruce Gilbert in this one, writing, performing, arranging, producing. Yeah, it's really good stuff. Yeah, if you like that clean, kind of slightly off-kilter, repetitive guitar motifs and rhythms, you will love this stuff. And while we're on the subject, yeah, B would be for Bruce Gilbert. But yeah, he's got a huge solo back catalogue and tons of stuff that he's done in collaboration, a lot of it with bandmate Graham Lewis. Much more on that later. Yeah, his stuff is usually quite challenging. It's never an easy listen, but it's very interesting and quite influential in some aspects, I think. Yeah, some key releases would be something like The Shivering Man from 1986. That's very good. Ex Nihilo from 2018 is also well worth a listen. Yeah, we'll cover more of Bruce's collaborations as we continue. And C, of course, is for Colin Newman. Yeah, he's right up there with Bruce in the kind of the prolific stakes as a solo Wire member. Really great run of 80s solo albums, right from 1980s A to Z. That one was produced by Mike Thorne. It features the track Alone, which was picked up quite famously for use in the soundtrack of Jonathan Demme's The Silence of the Lambs. But yeah, that run of albums all the way through to Commercial Suicide, and it seems covered the period right up until Wire reconvened in the kind of the mid to late 80s. And we'll be revisiting more of his kind of collaborative stuff rather than outright solo releases as we continue through this list. D is for Dome. This is Bruce Gilbert and Graham Lewis working together, giving very free rein to their experimental side in the immediate aftermath of Wire's mothballing post 154. Yeah, a string of very quickly recorded albums came out in the 80s, 1, 2, 3, and a fourth one. To me, I think that they're quite a big influence on a lot of the kind of the more avant-garde post-rock acts. The more minimalist ones, certainly, that appeared, a decade or more later. Again, this stuff is quite challenging, but it's never really boring, I think. I would say Dome 3, the third, is the best starting point if you're new to this. Yeah, a couple more Wire-associated Ds here as well. Yeah, Daniel Miller, that's the head of Mute Records, which was Wire's label when they reconvened in the 80s. Yeah, he did collaborate quite closely with Gilbert and Lewis on several projects. He did have some input into Dome, but also as another D here, Duet Emo, which is an anagram of Mute and Dome. Yeah, Duet Emo is very much in that kind of Dome style, experimental electronica, I guess you'd call it, early electronica, but with the odd foray into slightly poppier, more industrial kind of synth-based stuff. Okay, checking my notes here. Yeah, E is for Elegiac. That's a quite a recent collaborative project between Graham Lewis and Ted Milton of the band Blurt. And this one leans very heavily into the Blurt sound, very abstract spoken word lyrics, very free saxophone, minimalist, repetitive, very atmospheric. Yeah, it's weirdly addictive, quite cool stuff. Yeah, check them out on Bandcamp. Quick mention for another E here, and that's Eardrum Buzz. Not so much the single, it was their biggest, poppiest hit, but more for the video. Yeah, it's a video that I go back to and watch time and time again because it's full of interesting music biz kind of cameos. Some of them are easy to spot. You'll spot Barney Sumner from New Order in there. You'll spot John Peel, but others are quite tricky. Yeah, check it out. See how many you can name. Moving on, F. F is for Fitted. This is Graham Lewis and Matt Sims of the band's latest incarnation, teaming up with Mike Watt and Bob Lee. Yeah, that's Mike Watt and the Minutemen. This is kind of semi-improvised, kind of a distance-based collaboration. I think Mike and Bob worked stuff up and sent it back and forth to Graham and Matt. Yeah, the first fruits of Fitted, a bit alliterative there, emerged in 2019 with their first Fits album. Yeah, this came about after the band kind of got together for live performances at the Drill Festival in 2018 in LA. So yeah, I think this is really cool stuff if you're a fan of Mike Watt or Graham Lewis Wire. Yeah, apparently there's more stuff coming out soon as well, so I can't wait for that. A couple of G's coming up now. Yeah, I've got Gilbert Poss Stenger. This was a kind of sporadic, one-off almost collaboration between Bruce Gilbert and Robert Poss and Susan Stenger of Band of Susans. Essentially, this was kind of a live-only deal. The only release was something called Manchester and London, a CD release from the year 2000, documenting some sets that they performed at the Hacienda in Manchester and at Instrument in London. Yeah, both recorded in the mid-90s, very drony, synthy, noise, layering. It's interesting stuff, but this is quite hard to find these days. Yeah, G is also for Githead. This is Colin Newman's main side gig to Wire in the 21st century. Yeah, they've released a lot of stuff, several great albums and EPs, you know, in the noughties and right up to the present day. I think 2004's Head Git EP is really good, and the Art Pop album from 2007 is also a really good starting point if you want to get into Githead. Yeah, Githead features Colin playing alongside his wife, Malka Spiegel, and Robin Rambo and Max Franken on drums. Yeah, that signature kind of production sound, that almost kind of the modern day Wire sound is all over Githead. So if you like the sound of the newer Wire stuff, then I think you will absolutely love Githead. And the final G, yeah, I'm getting to him, yeah. It's Graham Lewis. As we've already mentioned, he's done a lot of collaborative stuff with Bruce Gilbert, Dome and the like. And also more recently with Matt Sims, the Fitted projects, Ted from Blurt. But he's also released some stuff under his own name. And when I say under his own name, he tends to go by the name Edvard Graham Lewis these days. So it makes tracking down stuff in discographies a little trickier. Yeah, you have to make sure that you search for both. Yeah, in 2014, he did release a couple of CD releases, a couple of albums called All Over and All Under. These are very good, quite Dome-like, but a bit more song-focused. But Graham's main solo project comes up in the next letter. That's H. That's H for He Said. Yeah, this is a much smoother, kind of more pop Graham Lewis, I think, that you'd find in a lot of his collaborations. He Said releases from the 1980s are borderline kind of synth, electro pop, with a slightly harder, maybe slightly more unpredictable edge than you'd expect from synth pop of that period. Into the 90s, yeah, he released a project under the name He Said Omala, which was another collaboration between himself and some more techno-based artists from his now native Sweden. That came out in the mid-90s. And rather helpfully for me, yeah, his other solo project also begins with an H. That's Halo, or Halo, however you want to do that. Yeah, another kind of pretty much entirely electronic Graham Lewis project of the similar period. And yeah, this is a feature of all the Wire kind of solo stuff, that they all tend to have got heavily into the kind of the dance, the electronic kind of stuff during their time in the 80s. Anyway, yeah, Graham's been teasing a new He Said release for ages. Keep your eyes peeled if you're interested. Okay, I is for Immersion. This is Colin and Malka as pretty much a duo doing mostly instrumental stuff, I guess, and certainly more explicitly electronic. Very cool, very atmospheric, and a lot of their more recent releases have seen them, you know, inviting even more collaborators in with them. They've done specific releases where they've also featured Scanner, Letitia Sadia of Stereolab, Ulrich Schnaus, and Tarwater. Yeah, Immersion's a very long-running, husband and wife project. It's been running from the 90s right through to the present day, and it shows no signs of disappearing soon. On to J, yeah, a couple of J's, a couple of Johns, in fact. First up is John Wozencroft. He's kind of a visual graphic designer artist who's worked with Wire for quite a long time. Yeah, basically all their 21st century album artwork is John's doing. Yeah, I really appreciate the kind of the cleanness and the kind of the thematic consistency of John's work. And second John is John Peel, of course, the late radio great, a keen supporter of the band, particularly during their early career. And they recorded 3 sessions for his program between 1978 and 79. Yeah, the last of those sessions is quite an interesting one. It features just a single track called Crazy About Love, which clocks in at just over 15 minutes, I think. I guess that probably makes it the longest single track that the band ever recorded entirely as Wire. Okay, onwards to K and L, in fact. Yeah, I'll cover both of these at the same time. And this is where we get to Kupol. Kupol's basically a variation on Dome. And K and L would be Clubber Coupole and Like This for Ages, both sides of Coupole's only 12-inch EP stroke album release. I say album because one of the tracks, Clubber Coupole, is about 20 minutes long. Like This for Ages clocks in only 4 minutes. But yeah, they're very dome, long, droning, rhythmic pieces. I think Clubber Coupole in particular, though, yeah, very rhythmic, very interesting. Yeah, again, not pop. It's not easy listening, but it's very satisfying. I think this might be my favourite of the Dome Coupole releases, in fact. Slightly better than some of the earlier Dome albums. Okay, we're up to M now, and a run of M's, yeah. First up, Margaret Fiedler McGuinness. Yeah, this was the band's extra guitarist for live purposes during the period around about the Object 47 album, after Bruce Gilbert had left the band. Yeah, Mags is of Moonshake, Leica, and although still mostly uncredited, I think there were some issues with that. Yeah, also Ultra Vivid Scene. Yeah, the band's 1020 album release was the first, and I think the only kind of release of theirs to actually feature Mags on guitar in a studio setting, and she features on all 4 of the kind of the 10 side tracks. Also, I've also mentioned her in passing. That's Malka Spiegel. That's Colin's wife since 1986. And his collaborative partner on pretty much all of his non-wire releases ever since. Git, Head Immersion, and just Colin and Malka. Yeah, Malka was a member of Minimal Compact, a group comprising of, Israeli expats who kind of rocked up in Belgium. Very active in kind of European, indie circles of the 80s. And in fact, Colin produced their 1985 album, Raging Souls, which many think is probably their best. Another M, and an obvious one, yeah, this is Matthew Sims, Wire's second guitarist since about 2010, 2011, right up until the present day. Yeah, Matt's main gig outside of Wire is his band It Hugs Back, who've released 4 albums over the last 10, 15 years or so. Very dreamy, kind of experimental, noisy pop. As I've mentioned, yeah, he's part of Fitted, along with Graham Lewis, Mike Watt. He plays in a few other bands as well. Better Corners, which feature Valentina from Moen, who I've also talked about on the channel once or twice. And more recently, Memorials, which features Verity Sussman of Electrolane. As well as Fitted, there is another kind of Lewis and Sims collaborative project, which will feature later in this list. We're up to N, and N is for Not About to Die. Yeah, this is the latest Wire release, which kind of fell outside the window that I was looking at during all my kind of primer videos. And it's basically a collection of demo material, which has been extensively bootlegged over the years. This is its first official release, coming from about 1978-79, and it just features some really great early takes of classic Chairs Missing 154 songs, and some kind of quite cute, punky originals that the band clearly ditched along the way as they kind of matured. Yeah, great compilation of early kind of scratchy material, perfect for fans of the band. Yeah, O is for Overload. Yeah, this is Wire before they were Wire. Yeah, George Gill was the de facto band leader, I guess, who the rest of the band cut when they found that their 4-piece sound just suited them better and was far more interesting. Yeah, George did go on to play in quite a short-lived punk band called The Bears. Yeah, they called it a day towards the end of 1978. Okay, on to P. I've got a few here. The first one is Poe. That's P''O. Another one of those Bruce Gilbert, Graham Lewis, Dome, Coupole kind of side projects, with a name that is just almost ungoogleable these days. Yeah, Angela Conway, who you'll remember I mentioned from AC Marias, she features prominently again in Poe. Yeah, despite being a project that set out to be a live act, they wanted to play live, they only ever released one album. And that album is 1983's Whilst Climbing Thieves Vie for Attention. I can't find this streaming in any of the usual places, but YouTube would be your friend here if you can manage to search for it. Yeah, I think this is pretty excellent stuff, actually. A couple of the tracks really stand out, Vanité and Blind Tim in particular. Yeah, a couple of other P's here. P is for the Pink Flag Guitar Orchestra. This is kind of almost like a pop-up or a flash mob kind of thing at occasional Wire events like drill festivals. And this is where the band invite, many musicians on stage to accompany them in an extended version of the track, Pink Flag. Yeah, these people they invite would normally be, other band members, support bands, people playing, friends, just guests. Yeah, this is quite good fun. YouTube is full of many documented performances of the Pink Flag Guitar Orchestra, so yeah, go find them there. Slightly tenuous P here as well, but this also relates to live work. Pig Pile. Yeah, this would be the live kind of VHS recording of Big Black's farewell shows in the UK in about 1987. Yeah, it makes it into this list because they play their famous cover of Wire's Heartbeat for an encore. But for this performance, they were joined on stage by Bruce Gilbert and Graham Lewis. Yeah, the VHS rips of this on YouTube aren't great quality. They're pretty janky, but yeah, worth a watch. My final P in the P section is People in a Room. Yeah, this is the pandemic delayed documentary film about Wire, clips of which feature very heavily in the video that they released for Cactus from the Mind Hive album. Yeah, word is that the last remaining interviews that got postponed because of COVID have now been shot. One of them apparently is with Steve Albini. So I would expect to see this make an appearance in the very near future. Yeah, Q, quick mention for the Quietus here. This is less about Wire really and more about, this series of videos. It's an invaluable online resource for kind of music features and interviews, and the source of lots of information for all of this Wire season, in particular, that dot dash anecdote that inspired my own video. Yeah, do try and support the Quietus however you can. A couple of R's now. Yeah, first up is Robert Go to Bed, or Robert Gray, the quiet one. Yeah, Farmer Rob. Yeah, he hasn't done too much in the way of, straight up solo stuff, but he has played drums a lot on other people's work. He played drums on most of Colin Newman's post 154 solo albums, and he also contributed to a couple of Fad Gadget releases in the early 80s. Another is Russell Mills, a British artist, probably most well known for a lot of his sleeve art, lots of 4AD stuff, and more recently for 9 Inch Nails. Yeah, he worked closely with Gilbert and Lewis on several of the Dome Coupole era musical projects and a few installation pieces that they worked on. The last art, yeah, I'll just mention it briefly. That's Robin Rambo, aka Scanner. Yeah, he's the second guitarist in Githead. Yeah, his stuff is phenomenally interesting, mostly electronic. Huge solo back catalogue. Check it out. Okay, now we're up to S. S is for Swim. That's Colin Newman's record label, primarily focused on kind of electronic techno type music, and Githead, of course. And another S. Yeah, I've got this from the wrong way around. I should have put it under D, really, but this is Desmond Simmons. Yeah, a childhood friend, a very early musical influence on Colin Newman. They discovered and explored a lot of stuff together. They went and watched the Pistols together. They played together in a bedroom project only, known as CNDS. And ultimately, Desmond did end up playing with Colin on several of his early 80 releases, like A to Z. Desmond did also record a solo album, Alone on Penguin Island, which came out on the Dome label. That was produced by Bruce Gilbert and Graham Lewis and released in 1981. Yeah, Des died in early 2013, and Colin wrote a lovely piece about him in the Quietus, who I've already mentioned, shortly after Desmond's death. I'll link to it in the description below. I think it's well worth a read. Okay, now we're at T, and I've got the. Yeah, this is one of those kind of odd side connections, but yeah, Bruce Gilbert, Graham Lewis did produce Matt Johnson's debut single release as the. That single was called Controversial Subject and was released on 4AD way back in 1980. Yeah, if you only know the from their kind of their big 80s album releases, check this out. It's pretty cool and not what you would expect, maybe. Like you, yeah, I'm finally reaching that other Graham Lewis and Matt Sims side project that I teased about, I don't know, 12, 15 layers back. Yeah, this one's called You, or Ooh. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Yeah, either way, this is a project between Graham and Matthew with Valentina Magaletti, again, of Moen, and Thighpol Sandra. Yeah, very interesting. This is an utterly improvisatory project, which takes kind of some of these long-form jams that the band recorded over hours and hours of sessions, and then kind of teasing them and editing them and cajoling them into new shapes in the studio afterwards. Yeah, try the track Boots with Wings, which is available on Spotify and on their Bandcamp page as a starting point. I think it's great stuff. Yeah, I've got another slightly tenuous one. I've got the Virgin Prunes. Yeah, this is that strange kind of proto-goth, almost, performance art, avant-garde Irish band. Yeah, their album If I Die, I Die is by many considered to be their best. And it's a great kind of period piece of that, weird kind of goth, kind of post-punk, birth point, if you like. Yeah, and it's on this list because it happens to be one of the few big releases which was produced by Colin Newman of Wire. Yeah, that's it for that one. And at W, I've got Wilson Neat. Yeah, he's the writer, author, who's written a lot about Wire. His Wire books would include the 33 and a third series Pink Flag kind of short book and the Read and Burn biography. Yeah, I think the band themselves consider that Read and Burn biography to be the best. I've seen them being quite scathing about some of the other books that have been written about them. Yeah, Wilson's contributed, extras, liner notes, other material to some of the band's official releases. The Send Ultimate one would be a good place to read some of Wilson's stuff. And finally, X and Y and Z. Yeah, I've had a real hard time chasing anything down for these three. Yeah, I got nothing really. I'll give you a really, really tenuous one off the top of my head. The band Moose released an album called X, Y, Z. One of their follow-up albums, Honeybee, also came with a promotional 7-inch single, which featured the band's cover of Wire's Kidney Bingos. That's all I got. And that's it. That's the conclusion of this A to Z of Wire side projects, collaborations, trivia, random bits and pieces. And it's also the conclusion of this season of Wire content on the channel. Yeah, thanks for bearing with me. If you stuck with all this, it means you're either a fan of the channel or a fan of the band. Yeah, they're probably my favorite band of all time. So this was me kind of getting it all out of my system in one huge chunk. Yeah, as usual, check the description below for links to any of the stuff that I've included here. I've also put together a brief Spotify playlist. I think there's about 25 tracks in that of whatever kind of solo or collaborative projects I've been able to kind of pull together. And the usual stuff. Thank you as ever for watching. If you've enjoyed it, yeah, please like. It really does help the video gain some traction with the algorithm. Yeah, any of your comments below, always around to answer them. And again, as usual, yeah, subscribe if you want to kind of keep up with what I'm releasing. In the meantime, again, thanks for sticking with me through all this Wire content. I've enjoyed it immensely. I hope you have too. Yeah, take care and bye for now.